Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you to Hannaford for hosting us. I more want to say to all those who've partnered on housing to get us to where we are today, to launch what will be a statewide effort to change the narrative on housing. There's a lot that divides us right now. But if we focus on our communities, if we focus on the strength of our economy, we can build a community together. 4 disparate groups have come together because, frankly, our mission, all of our missions, cannot be successful unless we address our state's housing challenge. Today, 4 distinct groups, the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Maine Real Estate and Development Association, and the Maine Affordable Housing Coalition, are announcing a housing agenda to build communities, build homes, and let me introduce to you the voices that have brought together build homes and build community. The biggest issue, regardless of where you are in the state, is to bring housing production up.
It's all geographies, it's all income strata.
Without housing, there is no community.
Maine has never faced a shortage of housing like we have today. Now is the time that we need to act.
This is a crisis. We need to take measures where housing projects aren't put at the back of the line, they should be put at the front of the line.
We need to reimagine how we think about housing.
You need to solve a crisis by bringing people together.
I was moving on the next chapter of my life.
I myself have lost probably a dozen employees, and it's because they can't afford to live here.
2 full years later, and all my stuff is still in storage.
Good morning to you.
It's a dilemma for me finding staff. We don't have a lot of options for folks.
90% of restaurants are teetering on failure.
But I can speak for my own personal challenges. There's no inventory. You know, there's a net deficit of 80,000 houses in Maine.
I'm looking at inevitably having to leave my community, and I don't want to do that.
Harrison has quite a bit of large parcels of land. What can we do with this? How can that benefit Harrison as a whole?
There are ways we can do this without disrupting the fabric of the community.
We have Mainers living in our shelters who have full-time jobs and they can't find housing.
Building new homes is what's going to keep the people that we rely on able to be there in our communities.
Nurses and cops, first responders who are teaching in your schools, you need to find options for them.
Without this very basic necessity of housing, everything from attracting and retaining our workforce, to be able to take care of our patients, making sure our patients are healthy. If we can't achieve that, then we're not doing our goals.
The economy is built not only on tourism, it's also built on manufacturing, and we need to make attainable housing available.
How are we going to attract families and the kids into schools?
People can't find a home, they can't move into your town, they can't move into your state. For us to grow, we need housing.
Augusta needs to hear from the people of Maine that this is a really big priority and that it's impacting all of us.
People really working together with communities in the lead, thinking about what they want for the future of their community is really a critical part of the solution.
The only way this changes is if businesses, nonprofits, people, and communities get involved.
We need people to show up for housing projects like people show up for economic development.
If there's a project in your community and you're supportive of housing, that'd be a good meeting for people to attend.
When you advocate for housing, you're actually advocating for community, public safety, public health.
Our ability to create housing at all levels creates growth in our economy.
If we all start saying yes to housing production, that is the only way that we're going to tackle this housing crisis.
It is critical if we want to maintain an economy, a community, and environment here in Maine that's sustainable in the long run.
These cannot be solved by one individual. It has to be a team.
Every business across the state says the same thing. This is not a southern Maine problem. This is in northern Maine, eastern Maine. It is an anchor on our state's economy. We cannot grow our economy if we don't have workers. Yesterday, the state's economic forecast projects that we'll have a 0.1% growth in employment in 2026, 0 in 2027, 0 in 2028, 0 in 2029. We will not grow our economy if we do not grow employment. Housing is not a housing issue anymore, it is an economic issue. We simply cannot grow if we have people moving away and not attracting people into our workforce. We are losing an entire generation of Mainers who cannot see a life for them here when they can't afford rent and they can't afford a down payment for a house. There are solutions. We have a new report, a North Star that should guide solutions for housing production. We have support in this room. We have support in the legislature. We need to focus on housing production. I am so encouraged by the outreach to the business community has been received, and they have answered that call. This would not be possible without the key voices of our business leadership who are joining us in this call for housing production. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the President and CEO, a board member of the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, and from a company that knows that investing in a community is a good business model. Please welcome Bob Montgomery Rice, the President and CEO of Bangor.
Thank you all for coming. You know, here in Maine, we don't just build homes, we build communities. That's why it matters that we're all here today. And that's why it all matters that we care about this issue. Thank you to the Chamber and our housing partners across the framework for coming together as a united front. It's the Maine way. We face challenges and we solve them together. The scale of this work requires collaboration across all fronts. We need you, business leaders, developers, nonprofits, financial institutions, and policymakers to be part of this solution. Let's remember, housing is just part of the problem and part of the opportunity. Training, education, apprenticeship, the workforce development programs are critical to building a stronger and more resilient Maine. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's commit to working together, sharing ideas, resources, innovation. Let's find the yes, not the no, to shape our housing solutions in Maine so that Maine can thrive today, tomorrow, and well into the future. Thank you. Let's get this done.
Thank you, Bob, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name's Quincy Hensel. I am the president and the CEO of the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce, and our organization is so incredibly proud to be a partner in this coalition and to also help this really critical campaign move forward. The housing shortage is not a single industry issue. It affects every level of employment and every single sector of our economy. One area where the impact has been particularly severe is in our hospitality and tourism industry, Maine's largest economic sector. Restaurants, hotels, and tourism-related businesses have struggled to find and to retain workers, largely because there simply is not enough affordable housing. For those who do find employees, many are traveling very long distances between work and their home, and this is an even greater challenge because of the long and the late hours that hospitality workers often have to work. If we want to grow and sustain our state's tourism industry, we must address housing access as a core part of that solution. Expanding affordable housing isn't just a social issue, it is an economic imperative. With that, I am pleased to introduce our next speaker, David Turin, the owner of David's Restaurant in Portland and David's 388 in South Portland.
Well, all right, you know there's a crisis when you ask the chef to get to talk to the room, I'll tell you that. So, first off, I own David's Restaurants right here in Portland and South Portland, and I'm honored to be here. I don't know, why did you ask me again? Anyway, all right. So I'll just be blunt. The lack of housing is just crushing the restaurant and hospitality industry. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's rough. Restaurants and hotels, as you heard, are struggling to retain and hire, predominantly because people can't live near where they work. It's not really that complicated. If you have to drive 45 minutes, an hour and a half, you're not going to work someplace. Very often, the people that can't get the houses have the money. We have a lot of people that are very well paid, they're professional, they're hardworking, and it's not just that the housing isn't affordable, it's that there just isn't any housing. So you'll hear a lot of talk about housing and affordable housing. I don't know that I'm an expert on this at all. If you need your breakfast cooked, I'm your guy. But on this, it seems to me that every house, doesn't matter if it's a $2 million house or $1 million condo or if it's a $135,000 starter home, it's more housing. And so we have to say yes to housing if we're going to continue to grow. And the restaurant and hotel industry is just suffering terribly. I'll give you a couple of examples, just a few names. I've changed them just because they probably don't want to have their stories aired out. But let's just call Jamie a chef. She's a sous chef, worked for me. She was in her mid-30s, worked for me for 7 years. Phenomenally talented young woman, wanted to stay. She was growing, doing great, had an old dog. And she suddenly lost her lease, couldn't find something in the time frame that she had, and where is she now? In Pennsylvania, living with her family. It's a tough story. Mike, who's a chef de cuisine at my restaurant in Portland, got us through COVID, worked for me for 7 years. He and his wife are in their early 40s. They decided that they wanted to stop renting. They wanted to buy a house. They saved up. They looked. They ended up buying a house in Bath. He did the commute for 8 months. Had a near fatal car accident driving home in the middle of winter after work. Said, you know what? I'm not going to work here. Where is he now? He's working up in Damariscotta. Take Jessie. This is a young 20s gal right out of culinary school, very bright future. She and her husband were living and working in the Portland area. They decided they wanted to grow their family. They saved up, trying to find a house that was big enough for them to have the child that they were supposed to have. And then she found out that in fact they were twins. Well, guess what? So they're living with their grandmother, with her grandmother up in Lewiston now. And then I've got Zeta. This is a gal who worked for me for 7 years also, early 40s, doing great. Ultimately, she said, you know, I'd like to buy your restaurant when you're ready to retire. That's a great plan. I might still call her on that. But she looked and looked and looked and looked for a house. She'd saved up money. She had a mushroom farm for 10 years before. She'd saved her money, could not find anything. So now what she's doing is she's managing a restaurant up in Damariscotta. Anyway, there are at least 15 other examples I could give you. People are leaving the state, they're leaving the city areas to move to more rural areas, and so the Portland people who are maybe making a little more money are moving to Bath and Damariscotta, and the people from Damariscotta have to move further north because the people from Portland are pushing them out because they have a little bit more money, and it's a brain drain. So all I can say is thanks for being here. Say yes to housing. That's all I can say on that, and if you need your breakfast cooked or lunch or dinner, I'm your guy.
Thank you, David. Good morning. I'm Laura Mitchell. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Affordable Housing Coalition, and we are a proud founding partner in the Build Homes, Build Community movement. This campaign was created because the answer to so many of Maine's challenges that you've heard about is very simple. We need more housing of all types and of all sizes. For me, this work is actually personal. As a child growing up, our trailer burned down and I moved into public housing. It shaped how I look at what a home means. It means safety, it means stability, and it means a shot at opportunity, and everyone deserves that. Build homes, build community is about action. That's really important, and we need all of your action. And it's about engaging everyone in action. Our plan is very clear. There's 5 steps. We need to lower construction costs by cutting unnecessary regulation. We need to help towns welcome housing. We need that yes to housing coming out of every town in Maine. We need to promote connected communities so people can live close to their schools, their jobs, their grocery stores. Thank you, Hannaford, for having us here today. We need to speed up the permitting process at the state and local level, and we need to fund affordable homes for those who need them most. This isn't just about policy, though. It's about Maine's future and whether people can live, work, and belong here. So now is the time to act, and I'm really pleased to welcome Kathy Hall from Lighthouse, a business that is taking action. They are deeply invested in housing and partners in the Build Homes, Build Community movement, and they provide thousands of memberships to individuals throughout Maine to support housing in their communities through the Maine Affordable Housing Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so energizing to see all these people together for housing. So thank you, and thank you to the good work of this team. Our mission at Lighthouse is pretty simple. It's to enrich and nourish the lives of others. And we've taken a particular focus on housing because when people have homes, communities thrive. We've been listening to the businesses in our area that are having trouble attracting and retaining employees because they can't find a home. They want to go work there, but they can't find housing, so they decline the job. We listen to our members and we see them try to stretch their income to afford a home because they want to live in the community they grew up in or where they've been renting or where they work. And they can't. It's a consistent problem you're hearing from all of us today. At Lighthouse, we set a bold vision of getting 50,000 people in homes in 5 years. And we absolutely know we can't do that alone. It takes partnerships. Partnerships like what we do with Maine Affordable Housing Coalition. We also work with a cross-sector group, bringing people from different industries together to talk about how we can share resources, share experiences and knowledge, and learn from each other to identify those gaps and find solutions for housing. There isn't one. There's a multitude. So let's start. Let's look for those areas that we can have short-term impact, those quick wins, and keep going with building on that momentum. Some of the other things that we've done, we work with conscientious builders on multifamily home development. We've also started to develop products that are based on our mission. Our ADU product, the accessory dwelling unit loan, that will consider the future income if they're going to have a rental or the future value of the ADU, trying to make it more available to people that want to build on the additional home, either for rental income or maybe to allow a family member to be able to come back in the community. We've also created a Pathways program, giving those people that want to have a home the ability to, if they partner with somebody, to not have to have a down payment or pay PMI. These were all mission-focused products designed to get people in homes, and we are sharing what we're doing. We've been talking with banks and credit unions, opening up our playbook. The more the merrier. We need everybody to be offering products like that and helping people with whatever lane you're in find how you can make a difference. And like I said, we're happy to share to get more people doing that. And they are. We're proud to be a part of this work and welcome any future collaboration if anybody wants to talk to us or talk to our partners. Like I said, we can't do this alone. We just want to get people in homes. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Shannon Richards, and I'm the current president of MREDA, the Maine Real Estate and Development Association. We are one of the founding members of this coalition. I see you and I know why you're here today. Like me, you know that housing is a major concern for the people of Maine. For the men, the women, and the children of Maine, access to housing, no matter who you are and where you live, is unifying. We all live somewhere. When I think of my home, I think of my children, my friends, my parents who visit, my neighbors, my community. I think of safety, warmth, and security, and I think about my future here in Maine. As a statewide nonprofit dedicated to the responsible development of homes in Maine, it's a critical part of our directive to unlock the problems that we are facing. Our teachers, our firefighters, our carpenters, our aging parents, and our young children, they are facing challenges that we have the power to overcome, but they need us to lead. With our ability comes our responsibility to solve this housing shortage for not only the very disadvantaged, but also the missing middle. We want and need to live near who want and need to live near their jobs and in their communities, and for whom housing could be considered hardest right now. We, in this category, are critical to Maine's success. From 2020 to 2024, the median home price increased by 50% in Maine, while wages only increased by 33%. The starting salary for Maine's teachers is $40,000 and $65,000 for Maine state police officers. Yet a home buyer in Maine must make $100,000 to afford the current median home price. The most effective way to solve this imbalance is to build new homes. Adding housing to the market will bring prices down and help solve this problem. We need this message to hit home today. We're here to identify what you can do to help. To speak more about the impact of Maine's essential workers, I invite Laura Cordes, the Executive Director of the Maine Association for Community Service Providers. This organization represents nearly 100 agencies that provide educational, residential, and community-based supports, as well as specialized care to children and adults with intellectual disabilities, autism, and brain injuries. Laura?
Good morning. Really happy to be included today. MAXB, as was mentioned, is the state association of organizations that are delivering essential Medicaid services, home and community-based services to thousands of individuals with disabilities every day in our state. The people that we serve, the professionals who support them, need stable, affordable, and accessible homes in order to live, work, and thrive. It is the foundation of independence, inclusion, and participation in community life. Our essential care and support workers are truly in a difficult place. They can't always find, afford, or keep housing in communities where they're needed. When housing is out of reach, it exacerbates our workforce crisis, and it actually has an impact every day on the quality of care that we are able to provide for people across the state in every community. Shifts go unfilled, overtime grows, and burnout rises, and providers and the people we serve feel it directly. One provider in southern Maine, seeing staff increasingly priced out of local housing market, has purchased apartments to make sure that their team and the team that they need every day that folks are counting on actually have a place to live. This is an extraordinary step that they took, and it's far beyond what resources and capabilities that most human services organizations have. Individuals with disabilities themselves, well, they're struggling to find housing that's both affordable and accessible. Small 2 to 4 person group homes that provide 24/7 supports have closed because staffing shortages. It's shrinking Maine's supply of accessible housing. Many individuals have been forced to move hours away from families and connected communities simply to find accessible homes with the support they need. Every community is feeling this loss when a valued direct support professional moves away or a person with a disability must leave their hometown. The web of trust and care and connection phrase, it's our workforce that's suffering, families suffering, and communities lose part of what makes them unique and whole. It was mentioned earlier about young adults, and I just want to put a fine point on what young adults with disabilities are feeling and experiencing. They're ready to live independently. We've put resources into supporting them to do so. They may only need just a few hours of support in the community each day, but they're often unable to find accessible apartments on their own in the community where they have grown up or want to live. So instead, they're staying with their families or they're in more expensive residential settings. So this lack of accessible housing is holding back a generation from achieving a key milestone, leaving the nest to build a life of their own. And as was mentioned earlier, and we all know, that means a lot of young people who are able, they're leaving the state. We believe that these challenges are best met together. That's why I'm honored to stand here today with the Build Homes, Build Community effort to say yes to housing. By working together, we can build homes that support the workforce that we need, the accessible homes that give people with disabilities real choices, and the homes that keep people supported and connected throughout our state. Housing is quality health care. It's a stable workforce and the foundation of inclusive communities. I encourage every Mainer, community members, employers, local leaders to join this effort and support policies that make housing a reality for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. You've all heard many compelling stories of people's experiences and struggles with housing. I really want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you to the founding partners in this work, our sponsors. You are all now a part of the Build Homes, Build Community movement in Maine. It's going to take a lot of people. It takes a lot of people to build a house. It's going to take all of us together to make Maine a place that everyone can call home, and having housing is within reach. So please visit yestohousing.me, and I will say that this Hannaford building, actually the Wi-Fi has security on it that makes that website out of reach. We did try to ask IT to fix that, but that did not happen. Remember the URL. You can find us on all the Facebook channels or social media channels, and follow us to stay involved. Your voices truly matter at every meeting that covers housing, and if housing isn't being talked about bring it up yourself. Housing matters to everyone, is impacting everyone in our community. Together, we can make sure Maine is a place that we can all call home. Thank you.